on the track, boy.
In the early 2000s, Dipset was one of the hottest rap groups in the game, and Juelz Santana was the young gun of the crew with tons of potential. The set made waves in the industry during the peak of the record sales era, giving spotlight to tons of their colleagues in the process. But none perhaps had the setup that Santana had. He was once told that he had the potential to be as big as Jay-Z. But as we know, that never happened. Ever wonder why? I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the rise and fall of Juelz Santana, Life After Rap. But before we get started, please take a second to hit that like button for me. Liking and sharing these videos is the best way to help us continue to grow. But with that being said, let's jump right in. Born LeBron James in 1982, he grew up in the Sugar Hill area of Harlem. Growing up in Harlem, a young Juelz was exposed to hustlers at an early age. But aside from hustling, he was also exposed to rap. He began rhyming words and attempting to make rap songs at the early age of 5. And by the time he was 12, he had formed a rap group with a couple of his friends from the hood named Draft Pick. After grinding local shows and even making amateur night at the Apollo, where they won 2 weeks in a row, they finally began to gain attention from various people in the industry. Draft Pick signed a deal with Priority Records when Santana was just 15. In 1998, he was introduced to Cameron by his cousin, and it wouldn't be long after that he took the name Juelz Santana. Cam was so impressed with the talent of the youngster that he offered him a spot in his new rap collective. Cam had recently left his previous situation and was looking to do his own thing, and along with Jim Jones and Freaky Zeke, they will form Dipset. Santana's first collaboration with the group was on the Trackmasters remix of What Means the World to You, followed by tracks Double Up and All the Chickens on Cameron's second studio album, SDE, which released in September 19th of 2000 through Epic Records. And in 2001, Cameron signed to Rockefeller Records and released his third studio album, Come Home With Me, in 2002. Cam had so much confidence in the potential of Juelz that he managed to get Santana signed to The Rock along with him. Which, when you consider that no other member of Dipset was signed to Rockefeller, it's kind of saying a lot about the excitement that Juelz Santana was generating. Dipset was prolific. Throughout the 2000s, it seemed like they dropped hundreds of mixtapes, mainly because the collective seemed to continue to grow. And after the first 4 mixtapes from the OG members, they released their first official album, Diplomatic Immunity, on March 25th, 2003. Later in 2003, Santana released his debut solo album, From Me to You, and it peaked at number 4 on the Billboard. Rap fans took to Dipset in a big way. They rose to being one of the most popular rap collectives in all of New York. However, in 2004, not all was great in the paradise that was The Rock. An internal beef had been brewing between Jay-Z and Dame Dash, and although it was chalked up to creative differences, many speculated that Jay-Z actually felt the way about Dame naming Cameron as vice president to Rockefeller Records. The fallout saw The Rock split down the middle, with some of the artists choosing Jay's side and others choosing Dame's. Considering that Cam and Dame were cool from Harlem, they obviously chose to roll with him. After the split, Dipset arguably fared the best out of any of the other acts. Their momentum continued to grow. In 2005, Santana released his second album, titled What the Game's Been Missing, which featured heavyweights like Jeezy and Lil Wayne. Juelz was a pioneer of sorts in his willingness to work with Southern rappers. You see, prior to that time, rap was heavily segregated down regional lines. South jam South, East Coast listen to East Coast, and so on and so forth. But Santana realized before many others that great work could be made by working across regional lines. That's not to say that the transition would be seamless though. When I was a kid growing up in Dallas, I was one of the first ones in my city to actually listen to the set. And I even remember when Juelz came to Dallas and did a show at one of the clubs that we used to go to back in the day, and he got booed off the stage. But not wanting to give up easily, Juelz continued to make inroads, and over time, he managed to gain more and more respect outside of the tri-state area. Santana's second album went on to peak at number 3 on the charts and was also certified gold. However, this would be the point where the sailing got a little rocky for the set. Throughout 2006, Cam had been beefing with 50 Cent, which inevitably pulled the rest of the crew into the fray. But by 2007, the war was growing a bit old for everyone that was involved. Not to mention, Cameron up and disappeared that year, moving to Orlando after citing issues with his mother. Which, okay, I mean, you can understand that, right? I mean, if you got family problems, you gotta go do what you gotta do. Except, Cam apparently neglected to inform his employees what the deal was. He was just gone one day, leaving them holding the bag with 50 Cent while at the same time questioning their futures in rap. Understandably not wanting to sit around hoping that Cam just came back one day, Dipset all but disbanded. Everyone went their separate ways, and Juelz Santana perhaps had the best setup of them all. In 2008, reports were that Cameron had sold Santana's contract to Def Jam for $2 million. Juelz went on to start his own collective named Skull Gang. They would release 2 mixtapes before dropping their debut album in 2009. Santana wound up working on his third album, but despite releasing several singles, the album would wind up getting shelved. With his name still relatively hot in the streets, in 2011, Juelz made his first appearance on the VH1 show Love and Hip Hop alongside his longtime girlfriend Kim Bella and Jim Jones and Chrissy. But outside of his appearances on the show, Santana's music career was pretty stalled out. Not necessarily for lack of trying on his part though, because he had been dropping music, but Juelz just had a long history of cancellations, no launches, and general duds. 2 years after his debut album, he was supposed to do a joint project with Lil Wayne titled I Can't Feel My Face. They had songs recorded and ready to go, but due to label issues, the album never saw the light of day. There was what would have been his third album that got shelved. He teased Born to Lose, Built to Win for quite a while, but it never dropped. And in 2014, he dropped God Willing, a mixtape, which was meant to signal his return, but it didn't do much. All We Got Is Us, a freestyle mixtape as well as God Willing 2, were announced and subsequently shelved as well. He couldn't catch a break musically, and more increasingly so, personally as well. In 2018, photos surfaced showing Santana missing his front teeth. Rumors swirled as the hottest could have happened to him, and some speculated that he had gotten beat up, while others attributed to his documented harder drug use. Juelz later came out and confirmed that it was in fact due to long-term drug use, citing an addiction to opioids such as lean. And I mean, I knew a lot of people that drank a lot of lean, but none of them ever lost their teeth. I'm just saying. Kim Bella had become a regular on Love and Hip Hop, which means Juelz was appearing a lot more. And this whole era of his life was being documented on the show. At this point, Santana was pretty deep into his habit. It had began to cause problems between him and his then wife, Kim Bella. It all culminated on the infamous March 2018 airport incident. While at the Newark Liberty International Airport attempting to make it through security check, TSA agents noticed a loaded handgun and 8 oxycodone pills in his carry-on bag. When they alerted Juelz of the infraction, he opted to run, leaving behind his passport, ID, and luggage. Real high IQ move there. Later realizing how stupid this was, I mean, let's be honest, even if he hadn't literally left a trail leading back to himself by leaving all his IDs, it's not like no one was not gonna notice Juelz Santana fleeing the airport with cops in chase. After 3 days of being in the wind, Santana finally decided to turn himself in on March 12th. For obvious reasons, he was denied bail, but ultimately the courts would relent after pleas from Santana's people and offered him a $500,000 bond. His mom had to put up her house in order to make the bail, which is sad considering Santana had been on for what, like the past decade? The course would later allow him to travel and perform with Dipset, which had recently gotten back together to do reunion tours, but under one condition: Santana's mom had to accompany him. And on 2018, Santana was sentenced to 27 months in prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release. He began serving his sentence in medium security prison on March 1st, 2019. After serving 19 of the 27 months, Santana was released on August 5th, 2020. Now, all the time that he had been in jail, Kimbella had basically held him down. She was out making moves and trying to keep everything going while he was gone. But cracks had begun to appear in their setup. In 2022, they announced that they were getting divorced. According to Kimbella, it seemed like she just kind of got fed up with his behavior. Now, I know that there's always two sides to every story, but one could only imagine a guy who gets so high that he forgets that he has a gun in his bag going to the airport has to be hard to deal with on a daily basis. Santana's life seemed to be falling apart, but even in his darkest moment, he still looked to bounce back. Also in 2022, he announced the launch of his own indie label, I Can't Feel My Face. His artists include his nephew, Young Ja, and the plan is to not only be a record label, but to double as a media hub featuring clothing and weed products, both of which embodying the Santana lifestyle. Even the Zombie Baby logo has plans to transform into a cartoon with voiceovers for content. Worth an estimated $1 million today, Juelz Santana is an example of having tons of potential and a great opportunity, but just not being able to make things work out. Years ago, Jim Jones told Santana that he has so much potential that he could be as great as Jay-Z. After obviously failing to reach those heights, many blamed it on laziness. But as you can see, Santana did tons of work and most of it was either shelved or failed to live up to expectation. I would argue that it was more likely due to his hard drug use than him being lazy. Either that or Santana was a guy with tons of talent, enough to be a superstar, but just wound up being content with being just another role player on the team. What do you think? Why do you think Juelz Santana never rose to higher heights in music? And do you think his new endeavor can help give him a second win? Hit us in the comment section and let us know. And if you made it all the way through the video, then hey, appreciate that. Also, we hope that you hit the like button because, as I said before, liking and sharing these videos is the only way to help smaller channels like ours continue to grow. And if you want to be updated whenever we drop a new episode, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you will be reminded whenever a new video drops. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.